Yay!
Hello.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Hi, Portia. How are you, my
I am
friend?
well. I am well. You look fabulous, darling.
Thank you, darling.
So
You as
excited to
well.
be here with you.
Yay! Hey, guys, today we are talking about the future of generational wealth. You know how we do. We always come here to talk about this roadmap to building a legacy, right? This roadmap to generational wealth, all the tangible things you can do and put in place to build your legacy, right? This is Portia Wood. Portia Wood is a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, a generational wealth builder. She's an estate planning attorney. Portia, want to tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yes, yes. Hi. My name is Portia Wood. I am a generational wealth planning attorney. I have my own firm here in California. We also operate in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. We are in partnership with my mother. So we are a Black female owned multi generational estate planning firm focused on educating and activating the members of our community, particularly those of us that have been historically and systematically marginalized throughout the years, to really take agency over everything that we're creating to protect and build intergenerational wealth in our community. And Michelle, when I'm talking, everywhere, right? I am talking about how it is a state of emergency in the Black and Brown communities as it relates to wealth and wealth transfer. 70% of African Americans have zero estate planning at all. So we are wholly unprepared as a society, as a group, to pass the wealth that we've been building. Despite that, the African American community has more wealth now than ever before in the history of this country to pass to the next generation. And so we have to prepare for what that wealth transfer is going to look like and make sure that we have protections in place to keep what we've built thus far with our families, and then be able to properly educate ourselves to leverage what we have so that we can truly make it intergenerational. So that's what we do. That's who I am. And I'm so excited to be here because we are
Yay!
the future of generational wealth and what that
Yes.
might look like, right? By women of color,
Yeah.
for women of color, to support our group, right? Our community, our contemporaries, because we are typically the ones who have been kept from this information. 100 years ago, women couldn't really inherit property. As recently as the 70s, women needed their husband's consent or their father's consent to have a bank account or a credit card opened in their name. Thank you, RBG, for fighting for that change.
Yes.
But we have been kept from the access to and the information around managing and controlling our own finances, as well as being the masters of our own destinies as it relates to generational wealth. And so, as we move forward, we are focusing on educating us so that we can continue to educate others.
Yay! Yes, guys. Again, thank you for joining us. If you're watching, please drop a note below. Tell us, drop any questions. Tell us where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, tell us where you're watching. Are you on YouTube? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook? Let us know. Again, Portia and I come here all the time to talk to you about building a legacy, right? Example, I had a call with a client slash friend earlier this week, and she was very emotional, right? Why was she emotional? Because we have, especially as women of color, especially as Black women, especially as women, as people, there's this fear when it comes to estate planning. There's this fear when it comes to buying real estate. There's this fear when it comes to investing anywhere. Why? Because we have been taught to save and hold on to our money, right? And when we do that, we're not leveraging the asset. We're not leveraging the money. We're not using our money to grow and build, right? So one of the things that Portia and I often talk about is getting the bag, right? Making money. So there's plenty of ways to make money, right? There's real estate, there's business, there is the stock market, there's a job, there's a W-2 job. But then it's also important to talk about securing the bag, right? And then making sure that that bag is passed down in the safest and most lucrative way possible to our heirs, right? So that is the roadmap from start to finish. How do we get the bag? How do we set up ourselves to make sure that we're making money, that we're leveraging every opportunity at our disposal? And then once we start accumulating some cash flow and we start making some money, what do we do in order to secure that and pass it on to the next generation? Portia,
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite way to build wealth?
It's so multifaceted. I would say
It
from the first part,
is.
right, based on what I do, the preservation of wealth often start the conversation around generational wealth with I'm going to create generational wealth for my kids. But the fact of the matter is, if your parents or your grandparents, you're fortunate enough to have your grandparents still be alive, that conversation really starts with them. Because the benefits of inheriting property, if they own real estate, or inheriting, even a small IRA or investment account, or even a small life insurance, can be protected and grown and invested over time to really make that an intergenerational wealth. So what do I think is the most important is having this estate planning conversation, making sure
Mm,
that what people have right now today, regardless of how much it is adequately and appropriately protected for what their goals are. And then you can build on top of that. You can invest in the stock market, which I like the stock market. You can invest in the
mm.
I like the crypto markets, right? You can invest in real estate. I love real estate. Real estate is one of the fastest wealth builders in this country. Um,
Oof.
you know, Investing in appreciating assets that you can then borrow against, that you can then leverage into more assets. That's my favorite way to build wealth, but it all starts with the foundation. It all starts with the baseline. Do we have what we already have protected? And if we don't, we can build a whole lot more, but one illness, one death, one issue can erode all of that. And so we've got to make sure that
Yeah.
our baseline, our foundation of our financial house is protected. And so that's my favorite way to build wealth. Protect what you already have.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Protect what's already there, right? And then on top of that, now let's talk about, and I'll chime in, right? What, of course, some of my favorite ways to make that shmoney. Of course, one is real estate. Obviously, you guys know that I love and adore real estate, right? What I want to put out there is you do not have to be wealthy to buy or invest in real estate, right? The key is get over the fear and just get started. Talk to someone that you trust in your circle, whether it's a realtor, a mortgage broker. I would start with those two, or an investor, and find out exactly what they're doing. Find out how do you get in the game. It is possible to get into the game, right? So one, of course, is real estate. Two is business. Everyone else, everyone watching this in some way, shape, or form knows that I am a serial entrepreneur, right? Love leveraging what's in my mind to make that money, right? And so, your intellectual property, how do you protect what's in your head so that way someone else can't take it, right? How do you not get jacked for your ideas and your trademarks and all those things, right? You need to work with an attorney, work with an intellectual attorney, figure out how to leverage those assets. You can pass down the intellectual property in your business to your children and to their children and to their children. Yeah.
When you're sitting here and you're talking about it and you're like protecting your intellectual property, protecting your trademarks, protecting the intellectual property inside of your business, again, that's securing what you already have. Many times in our community, we have people who start businesses that are very creative, but they don't have ownership, right? And so we hear a lot about generational wealth as
Mm,
ownership, having ownership over your ideas, ownership over your work. But ownership isn't limited to just, I have this piece of paper. It's how does that piece of paper, that registered piece of paper, then continue in my family? And, we talk a lot about this when we're on those clubhouse streets or on those Instagram lives, right? We're constantly screaming this from the rooftop. But, you know, the ownership aspect is just one piece because
mm,
you own it. But if you haven't set it up in such a way to appropriately continue in your family protected, then that doesn't mean that they're going to own it, right? If things have to go through a court process, or you have a business, or you have a home, and you've got 3 kids or 3 beneficiaries, and they've got all different needs, right? Let's say one of them has back child support issues or restitution issues to the state, which
mm,
are issues in our community, right? When you think about the war on drugs and how many people that impacted, those are real issues that people have to deal with. And that might mean that the state is attaching to that kid's percentage share of that one house. And that
Mm.
one person with those one issues might be able to completely destroy that inheritance for everybody.
Mm.
And it looks different, and all of these scenarios are different, but we have to plan for how they continue to own it. Not just the ownership piece, but it's what happens after that. And I encourage people, and we talk about it, and I know we're going to keep talking about it, but
Yeah.
what happens when it's your great grandchildren? You've got one house, they're left,
Mm.
set it up for your kids, but when it gets down to your great grandchildren and there's like 50 of them, there's 50
Yeah.
different beneficiaries. What's the
Yeah.
plan for them? And
Yeah.
oftentimes people go, just sell it, let them divide the proceeds, it's fine. Well, if you just sell it, you've lost an appreciating asset that you can borrow against. And
Yeah.
so it's important that we not just accumulate the assets so that we can create generational wealth, but that we protect them so that that wealth is intergenerational, not just for us, not just for our kids, but for our family line all the way down. And we can do that. It just takes a little bit of tweaking, but we can do it. And so we're here to talk about the roadmap for that from all different industries. We have an incredible lineup coming. I'm so pumped about this lineup.
Yay!
We have CPAs for major companies coming in to talk about some of these tax strategies, as well as some of these changes that are coming in that might impact us. We have business managers coming in to talk about how to make sure your stuff is in order, right? We've got realtors, we've got women in construction, we've got women talking about entrepreneurship. But what
Yes.
we have is a collective of Black women from all of these different industries that have made it to the top of their game, coming to give back information so that all of us can thrive. And so I'm so excited about this group of women that we've been able to put together. And I don't believe that we're ever going to see this group in this number ever again. So, I'm just incredibly thankful that people have agreed and that we are able to continue to.
Yay!
So I hope you're going to join us. If you are not a woman of color, but you're an ally, consider sponsoring a woman of color in your life who you think would benefit, right? So,
Yes. Yes.
yay.
And guys, what is Portia talking about? She keeps talking about this collective that we've put together. So we've curated a collective, as we like to say, of women of color who've helped build this roadmap to generational wealth for women of color. What does that roadmap look like? Well, we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to open the morning with mindset. We're having a 1 day conference, right? I did not say that. We're having a 1 day conference, 1 day, Black Friday. Future of Generational Wealth, the roadmap to generational wealth for women of color by women of color. We will break it down into many sections that are going to walk you down this roadmap. First, we're going to start off the morning with money mindset, right? Money mindset. We have Pam Covarrubias who will be there with us, going through some things to help get our mind right, right? To get our spirits and our minds aligned and ready for all the goodness that's going to pour into us that day. Then Portia and I are going to drop some bombs, right? And some stats and some good stuff on why we're here, what our mission is, and why it's important. Then we'll dive into finance. Finance. Ooh, Portia, who do we have joining us for finance?
We've got Cherie of the Little CPA. If you guys have not checked out that blog, you absolutely must. She also works for an accountant firm that deals with billion-dollar businesses. And so she's going to bring some incredible gems to the stage as it relates to tax and tax planning and why that's an important part of your wealth building team. We've got Belva Onakwenzi, who is a business manager and virtual CFO for entertainers and athletes throughout the Hollywood area. She is an incredible powerhouse that is going to be dropping gems about business formation. How do we properly manage our businesses? How do we properly manage our personal lives to ensure that we are maximizing what we're bringing in to make it continue to grow? I mean, we just have some incredible powerhouses. So, I mean, in finance,
Leslie.
and
Leslie
yes,
Batson.
yes. Oh my gosh. And we've got people coming in. We're talking about financial management, talking about life insurance, talking about all of these different vehicles that maybe you've heard a little bit about. But what does it mean about how it can be impactful in your life and for your
Yes.
family? And for you,
Yes.
why does it matter? Why should
Yes.
you care? So
Yes.
join us one day on Black Friday for all of this goodness. And of course, we've got estate planning. It'll be myself. It'll be my mom. It'll be Delana Barbie of the Barbie Law Group.
Yay.
Of Delana, by the way. Just coming in and talking about estate planning from the different perspectives, because our generation's estate plan is going to look very different than my mom's generation's estate plan, because their needs and goals are different. I've got a minor child, you've got a minor child. Our estate plan needs to also consider guardianship planning, inheritance protection planning, perhaps remarriage protection for our spouses if something were to happen to us. Because I'm sure some of you out there have heard of when a spouse remarries and now the kids got disinherited. Right? The new spouse got the house and the kids who grew up got nothing. It happens, and it's often because people don't realize the legal implications of these different things. So putting those protections in place, that's going to be our consideration. Because if we're gone, I surely don't want somebody else getting my house, some other spouse person getting my house, and my son not getting the fruits of what I've worked for. But I have to make that plan, right? So we're going to be talking about that. My mom's coming in, she's talking about her generation and what that planning looks like, particularly when you have either no kids or adult children and maybe grandchildren or even great-grandchildren that you're considering. How do you plan for them, and what are the pieces, right? It all flows together. And the three of us will be talking from different jurisdictions as well, because California is different than, Massachusetts and Connecticut, which is where Delana's coming from, because the laws are state specific. So we wanted to give in some variety and breadth to really make sure that we're covering everybody. But it's a state of emergency. I say it all the time. There was a study that was done in 2017 that found that by 2053, the median net worth for African-American households was set to hit zero. It would take Latino families another 20 years to hit that same result, 2073. That is terrifying. There was another study that was done again in 2017 that found that only 13% of college-educated African Americans were passing $10,000 or more to the next generation. Said differently, right? 87% of college-educated African Americans are not even passing $10,000 to the next generation. We're passing negative wealth. That's the problem. We have to change that trajectory. It's not that we aren't making money. It's not that we don't have assets. It's that it's not making it to the next generation. So what we are working for, what we're accumulating, what we're putting our blood, sweat, and tears into is not making it to the next generation to help them to thrive. Comparatively speaking, the average amount passed in Caucasian families is approximately $163,000, enough to pay off a 4-year tuition at a state school, assuming there is debt at all, and enough to put a down payment on an almost $600,000 house. They're passing wealth. Now, of those who are passing more than $10,000, which is approximately 50% of those in the Caucasian community are passing that much money. But that is a stark comparison, right? That we don't have assets. It's not that we don't have stuff. We don't have the tools to properly protect and leverage our assets. And let's be clear. I know I say this all the time, but let's be clear. We were the wealth originally being passed inside of these estate plans.
Absolutely.
And so when we think about what that means and where that's going, it was never intended for us to benefit from. But the reality is the laws have changed, society has changed. We now have the opportunity to own property instead of be the property, and to pass what we have to really create wealth and opportunity for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. But the onus is on us. We have to educate ourselves, and we have to take action. So I'll say it again. It's a state of emergency. We have right now, in 2020, 1 in 555 African Americans died because of COVID-19. 1 in 555. And so we have seen this major shift in our community as a result of this unprecedented virus that we've just experienced, right? The time is now. The timeline to the road to zero wealth has been severely accelerated because of this pandemic, and we have to act now.
All right, guys. So you heard it firsthand. Of course, it's a state of emergency, right? It is time for us to get the bag and protect the bag. We often talk about how buzzy, right? How trendy the words generational wealth and build a legacy has become, right? But things become buzzwords because people are talking about it. And people are talking about this because it's necessary. So, and Portia, you give her a microphone, she is going to tell you to protect your bag. She's going to tell you every way, every reason why we need estate plans, right? So, and again, this conversation is not just about estate planning, but it is the foundation for you to protect the things that we're also going to help talk to you about building. So, again, Black Friday, future of generational wealth, it's the roadmap to generational wealth. For women of color, by women of color. We're going to talk money mindset. We will have a finance panel. We will have in that panel will be a CPA, a business manager, a wealth manager who's all about paycheck protection and life insurance. Then we will move to our next panel, which is real estate and entrepreneurship, which are some of the historically, those are the ways that people are able to accumulate and pass wealth. It's either through business structures or through real estate, right? So we will have a mortgage broker in the house. We will have investors in the house. We will have moi in the house talking to you and encouraging you and letting you know that there's so many ways that you can buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And we'll talk about all of those ways. And then wrapping up the day, well, actually, before we wrap up the day, we will have a panel on estate planning, right? And that is Portia Wood, her mother Robin Wood, and Delana Barbie, whoop whoop, who's also going to talk a little bit about estate planning, but also protecting intellectual property, trademarks, all that good stuff. And if you are one of our VIP members, then we will also wrap up the day with a VIP mastermind, which we will sit down in a small group and really mastermind on the next steps when it comes to building your roadmap. You will have a resource, a workbook that will walk you through these steps, but really, by the end of the day, you're going to absorb so much information that that mastermind will give you an opportunity to really intently decide what's happening next.
And I see some of the guys in the audience. Brandon, thank you. Great stuff. We are trying very
Yay!
hard to make sure that we are bringing this to everybody. This one is not for the guys, Brandon, but as an ally, obviously, sponsor a woman in your life, whether it be a sister, your mom, a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, someone that you think, hey, you know what, there's this incredible event going on that can really change the trajectory for you by giving you at least the beginning tools of how to get started. Share this information. And anybody who's out there who wants to sponsor, you can go to sponsors.futureofgenerationalwealth.com and sponsor a woman in your life. When we think about this season of giving, right, that we're going into, this holiday season that we're going into, let's share the knowledge. Let's take this away from this commercial holiday of spend on material things. Let's spend on knowledge. Let's take our time to give people information, right? You give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. You teach, he'll train an entire generation.
Yes. Hey, Troy. Of course, Troy is one of definitely an ally. I know Troy's gonna send a couple women our way for this amazing event. For all of my family and friends that are watching this event, please, if nothing else, share this video. Hit that little share button below. Share it on your wall. Give us a little, pat on the back for even really taking this mission, making this mission important to us. Portia and I do this daily. Whether it's through our businesses, right? Real estate, estate planning, whether it's through live streams like this, whether it's through online home buyer events or webinars that Portia hosts on how to protect your children in case anything happens, through Clubhouse, through IG Live. We are preaching, y'all, all day, every day.
Any and everywhere to make sure that this message gets heard. Because, when we start to think about the numbers, right? Right now, we are at mortgage rates that are at historic lows. We are in a position where real estate has gone up, 24% in the last year in terms of home values. We've got some estimates say a 14 million housing unit shortage in this country, as there's more buyers than there are available properties on the market. So if you are someone whose family or yourself, you own property already, you got to know how to protect it. because either you and your family will continue to get the benefit of that property and those investments, or someone else's family is going to get that. But that property is not just gonna, it's not just gonna create generational wealth without a plan, without a process, and without a roadmap for your family. So I'm hoping you guys will join us, futureofgenerationalwealth.com, to get more information about what we are talking about, and we'll see you there.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate this. Of course, I'm going to, put up a couple other things. One, again, if you can attend the event, how can you support us, right? How can you support our mission? This is a call to action, not just for you to come to the event and to absorb the information, but also to help spread our message. If you love me, like I know you do, if you're a fan of Portia, like we know you are, then support us. Help us push this mission further. How can you do that? Want to attend the event? Go to futureofgenerationalwealth.com, buy a ticket for yourself, buy a ticket for your sister, your mother, your cousin. And if you're unable to attend or you don't identify as a woman of color, then sponsor a ticket. Sponsor a ticket for someone else. Shout out to Auntie Nessa, who now says I can say it publicly. She has sponsored 10 women. Shout out to my accountability buddy and Tulsa realtor, Stacy Turnage, for sponsoring 3 tickets. Portia, who else? We have another sponsor, a couple other
Yeah,
sponsors.
shout out to Josh Perry for sponsoring 5 women for the event. Thank you so much for your support and for making sure that the women around us are able to get this information and to really share. So that is a call to action for all of you. Black Friday is typically a thing where we go out and buy discounted stuff, right? It's not really discounting because it does not appreciate. This time around, let's go ahead and make the investment to go create intergenerational wealth. Let's invest in us.
Awesome, guys. We will be back on your screen, dropping knowledge for over the next week. Catch us in Clubhouse, catch us on IG, catch us here. Giving you more and more and more of this goodness. But if you don't want to have to catch us in the moment, if you do not want to have to piece together all the information that we're sharing, come to this event. We've curated. I'm not a CPA. Portia's not a CPA. She's a bomb estate planning attorney. I'm a pretty daggone decent realtor and coach, but I'm not a CPA, right? We are not trademark attorneys. We're not mortgage brokers, but we've brought all these people together to help you assemble your team. Come on, join us.
Let's do it.
Bye, guys.